Hi guys, so this is the basics of bass guitar, intro to bass guitar again. This is part 2. So, last time we talked about the different parts of the bass. This is your bridge, these are your pickups, your tone and volume knobs, your pick guard, the fretboard, the strings, the frets, fret wire, tuning heads, right? And we learned 3 notes. Now those 3 notes we learned were D, C, and B flat. So let's review those. So our D string is the 2nd string. We also learned the names of all 4 strings. Do you remember what they are? All right, what is it? Okay, so it's G, D, A, E. Good dogs always eat. I don't know. Made it up. Good dogs always eat. If you can think of another one, email me, let me know. So after the names of the strings, we learned those 3 notes. And so D is our 2nd string. These strings are 1, 2, 3, 4, and our 2nd string is D. So that's our first note that we're learning is D. And then we have C, 3rd fret on the 3rd string. So 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. And we're gonna put it right next to the fret, not on top of the fret, but right next to the fret. That stops the string right there, and that's what gives it that pitch. If I go to the next one down, it gives it a different pitch, right? So there's your C. That's our 2nd note, and we're gonna use our 3rd finger for that. And then B flat. And that's 1st fret on the 3rd string. I think you can hear that very good. So we have D, open D, our C, and our B flat. Okay, so knowing those 3 notes is super important. And last time, what we did is we learned about a whole note and how whole notes last for 4 beats. So we can pluck our D string, 1, 2, 3, 4, off, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, off. All right, we can do that on all of our notes. So whole notes, and we also learned about quarter notes, and quarter notes go 1, 2, 3, 4, off, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. We might have a song where we're doing nothing but quarter notes. We're going. Okay. Now, I mentioned last time that we're going to talk about how to recognize these things and get good to read it. Get good at reading it. So, what I'm going to do, I'm going to pull out my trusty bass book here. And this book is really good. Many bass players have learned how to play with this book. And we talked last time about the very, beginning of band worksheet number 1 on page 9. And if you're just starting out with all this stuff, which you should be, that's what this course is for, then we want to be able to recognize which note this is. Now we have a very cool paper, or page 8, that gives you a couple of things. Number 1, it shows you a grid right here. These are your 4 strings. The darkest one, or the thickest one, that's your lowest string, your E string. This biggest one, okay, that's this string. So if I'm holding that grid, it's like if I'm holding my bass, just like that, this is the biggest string. And then this is the smallest string. It's this one. Okay? So it has a 0, which indicates open. No fingers on that. Okay? So that means that that's our D. It's our D string open right there. This fingering chart is going to show you how to play all your first 7 notes real easy. And if you don't understand how to read it, it's going to be super easy. So then, on the next one, this one shows our C And it's like, here's that biggest string again. It's going to be like that on all of these. And it's showing us that our C is going to be on the third string. 1, 2, 3. And that number is 3. That's our third fret. Okay? So, 1, 2, 3. Just like we were talking about. There's your C right there. Third fret. 1, 2, 3. Third string. 1, 2, 3. And then it shows that same grid shows our B flat in right there. And I'll show it to you again so you can see that. Alright, there it is. So that's how you're going to be able to read these notes. Now, that is a tablature. That is a grid on how to where to put your fingers. Now, why do we do that on bass? Is that a cheat so you don't have to learn how to read music? No. And I'll show you why. So here's my B flat. Here's my B flat again. The exact same pitch. Now, we didn't want you to play that B flat, so we showed on the tablature we wanted you to play that B flat. There's more than one B flat on your instrument, okay? And so that's why. So the tablature is not a cheat thing, but it's a very specific way to do your fingers. And all your saxophone students and your clarinet players and trumpet players, they're showing people how to play, what valve to play, first and second valve on their E and so forth. And so these are very specific things. Now, that information can't be shown on the music, So, let's talk about the music. The music gives you other information, all right? So, last time we were on page 4 in the book, and that gives you the bass clef. That's one we're concerned with because we're bass players. Now, these are not strings. That's completely different from the grid that we were just talking about. These are the lines of the staff, and we named them just like we named our strings on the guitar, but they're different. They're not the same. So don't confuse those two things. So there's something we need to learn. It's a language, music is, and we just got to learn a couple of terms. And this is a staff, okay? This is treble clef. This is bass clef. You're a bass clef player as a bass player. Now, we also have numbers. So like this bottom line is line 1. Second line is 2, 3, 4, 5. So how many lines do we have on our staff? 5. 5 lines on the staff. And in between those lines, we have 4 spaces. All of these things are going to tell us what note to play, okay? So if we want to say, okay, we want you to play a low G, that's going to be on your first line, okay? You can see, actually you can't see that, you see the numbers on that. Let me see, right over here. This is your G, B, D, F, A. There it is. You can't see that. All right. So that's your G, B, D, F, A. Those are the lines. Good boys do fine always. All right. Good boys do fine always. The spaces in between are A, C, E, G. All cows eat grass. Or always carry extra guacamole. If you're telling somebody about the lines, you can say good burritos don't fall apart. There's another little trick here. I think it's pretty cool. If you start on the bottom space, it's just the alphabet going up. It's A, B, C, D, E, F, G, and then A again on the top line. That's easier than the treble clef people sing to remember, I think. So it's just the alphabet starting on the first space. All right. Now in all music, there's only 7 notes. All right, 7 letter names, I should say, because we have those 7 letter names could have sharps on them, or they could have flats on them, and we'll talk more about that. But it's just A, B, C, D, E, F, G. It's just the alphabet going up to G. There's no H's. So what happens when you get up from A, B, C, D, E, F, G? What happens after that if you have notes above it? Well, you start over at A again. So after G is A. Okay? So instead of H. So if we had, in fact, just I think as far, yeah, you can see that it starts over. So A, B, C, D, E, F, G, A, B. And then it keeps going up. C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, as high as the bass can play. And what about going lower? Well, the same thing. So we know that this bottom line is G. What comes before G in the alphabet? A, B, C, D, E, F. F comes before G. So your F would be right below that line because you could have notes down there too. All right. So let's review all that. Your 5 lines are good, boys, do, fine, always. 5 lines of the staff. This has nothing to do with the names of our strings. Good, boys, do, fine, always. This is super important. And then the spaces, all cows eat grass. All cows eat grass. All right, so now let's go back to page 9. Oh, before we do that, though, we have these different types of notes. And I'm going to get up real close so you can see that. All right, so you have a whole note. Looks kind of like an egg. Its value is 4 beats long, and we were talking about that. And we also have half notes. Those look like these right here. They're 2 beats apiece. Quarter notes are 1 beat apiece. And that's the only kind of notes that we're dealing with right now. Later we'll do 8th notes, 16th notes, and it'll take a long time. We'll get into 30-second notes as well. So, back to page 9. So, if you're looking at your book on page 9, let's play along. Let's play number 1, 2, and 3 together. All right, here we go. Now I'm going to set my metronome. And I'm going to put it at 60 because 60 is a good tempo. It's kind of slow, but it's not too slow. All right. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now, who's going to tell you how fast to go? Well, your band director will. Your band director, when they count you off, they'll do this. They'll go 1, 2. Oh, 1, 2, 3, 4. Bang. You play on beat 1. If your music says you play on beat 1. If it says rest on beat 1, you start counting right there. Okay? So I'm going to put this on my music stand where you can see it, I think. Oops. There we go. Okay. Yeah, I'm going to try to put my bass where you can see that as well. Okay, so number 1 on page 9 has our open D for 4 beats, and then we rest for 4 beats, and then we have our C for 4 beats, and then we rest for 4 beats. Actually, on the third measure, we have 4 quarter notes. So I'm gonna play number 1 for you. So wait till it gets to. I'll count myself off. 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Off. 2, 3, 4. Now quarter notes. 2, 3, 4. Off. 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Off. Now quarter notes. 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Off. 2, Now we're going to look at number 2, and it tells us what note to play. I'm going to stop that for a second. So let's analyze it for a second, right? So where is it? It's on the second space. So we look at that and we go, okay, what's the saying we have for spaces? All cows eat grass. There's only 4 spaces. So that's the second space, so it's cows. So that's our C. Okay, and what's it telling us to do? We have a whole note. We're going to hold that note out for 4 beats. This is a whole rest. That means we're going to rest for 4 beats, a whole measure. And then we have 4 quarter notes. Those are 1 beat apiece. We'll play 4 of them in there. Those are also C's. It doesn't matter that those are quarter notes and what you had over here was a whole note. Where they are on the paper was what tells you. So if it's on a line or a space. We have another whole rest, whole note, whole rest, 4 quarter notes. So every note on this line is our C, because they're all on the second space. All right, so let's play that together. Here we go. So here's our C right here. Ready? 1, 2, number 2, play. 1, 2, 3, 4, rest. 2, now quarter notes, play. 1, 2, 3, 4, rest. 2, another whole note, now. 1, 2, 3, 4, rest. 2, now our last 4 quarter notes. 1, 2, 3, 4, off. Let's stop the metronome. Okay, so when you're reading music, you're reading them from left to right. It's like reading a story. It just keeps going from left to right. And each one of these measures gives you those 4 beats. So after 4 beats, you go to the next one. And after those 4 beats, you go to the next one. Well, let's look at this one. Where is it located? Is it on a line? On number 3? Is that on a line? Or is it on a space? It's on a line. So we have to think to ourselves, what are our lines? Good boys do fine always. Sorry. Good boys do fine always. Or good burritos don't fall apart. I've been saying that so long, I want to say it every time. Good burritos don't fall apart. So either way, whether it's good boys or good burritos, it's that second line. Okay, so it's our B. Now if we're looking at this, you're going to say, okay, we're going to do a B flat whole note on the first measure. Then we're going to rest for 4 beats. And then we're going to do 4 B flat quarter notes on the third measure. And then we're going to rest for 4 beats. And then we're going to do another whole note. We're just going to read it from left to right. Okay, where is that B flat? It's right there. It's on the first fret of the third string. 1, 2, 3, right there. So all we're playing right now is our D, our C, and our B flat. Those are the only notes we need to have memorized right now. Okay? We don't have to cloud our mind with all other kinds of information, but we need to remember some things. We need to remember what the 5 lines are on our staff. Good burritos don't fall apart. That's the lines. And the spaces, all cows eat grass, or always carry extra guacamole. But A, C, E, G. Lines, G, B, D, F, A. Spaces, A, C, E, G. Okay, we want to memorize that. All right, so here we go. Number 3, we'll play it together. And I'll count you off. 1, 2, number 3, play. 1, 2, 3, 4, off. 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, off. 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, off. 2, 3, 4. 1, music will show a double bar line. You see that? How there's two lines there? If you have two of those, that means the end. That's the end of it. You don't go to the next line. Otherwise, if you didn't have that, you would go from one line to the next without stopping. And it's just like on a piece of music. If you had a song that you played in band, it might be this long. It might be several pages long. And as long as you don't have a double bar line here, you just keep going. But these are exercises to get us to start reading music. And we definitely want to know what that means. So it's stop right there. And the reason we stop is we want to look at it. We want to start analyzing the next line. So look at number 4. So number 4, we have a whole note. And it's tied to this whole note. It has this little line right there. That means that we're going to add those two notes together. Instead of having a whole note or two whole notes, where we just go 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Instead, we're gonna pluck it kind of hard so it lasts for 8 beats, because a whole note is 4 beats, and you have two of them together, it's 8 beats. So it's going to be like 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Stop it, just like that. Okay. Now we don't just have that one note on this exercise. In fact, let's look at it. What is that one note? Good boys do. That's your D. All right. It's on a line, so it's good boys do fine always. That's your D. And then over here, it's on a space. All cows eat grass. It's on the C space. And then on this one, we have good boys. That's our B flat right there. All right. Now, so the way we'll play it, I'll play it for you one time with the metronome. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Rest. 2, 3. Then a C. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Off. 2. Then we have B flat. Go. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Off. Okay. Let's play it together. 1, 2, 1, 2. Number 4. Go. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Rest. 2. Change notes to your C. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Rest. 2. Change notes to your B flat. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Off. All right. So you just played number 4 very successfully. We call that a tie. Those notes are tied together. And so you'll see those in music. It's just another term that has a meaning that we will use sometimes. All right. So we want to pack that away in our mind. Like, okay, that's a tie. Now sometimes you'll see those things where you're changing notes, and in that case, it's not a tie necessarily. In fact, it's not a tie. It's a slur. So it's going to be going to another note, and you want to go real smooth with that without reattacking. This is different. Number 5. So on number 5, we have 8 quarter notes in a row. We have 4 in the first measure, 4 in the second measure. And we got to figure out what are these notes. Okay? So we have good burritos don't. There's our D. So all 8 of those notes are D's. We have a whole rest. This one's on a space. All cows. Okay, so that's our C. All 8 of those are C's. We have a whole rest. And then we have This one's on the line, so we think good burritos don't fall apart. So G, B, these are all B flats. Okay, so we have 8 B flat quarter notes together. So this should be getting us ready to start playing in band. First day, you're going to have clarinets and trumpets and flutes and all that. You guys will move really, really quickly through the book. It'll be a little bit easier for you in some ways because they have to put their entire instrument together. For you guys, it's going to be important that you don't have your bass cranked up really loud. You're going to want your volume like less than halfway. On your bass amp itself, if you turn the bass part up to where it's about 3/4 of the way up, and the volume about 1/4 of the way up, and then your band director can turn it up if he or she wants it louder, but you don't want to be too loud. Your signal on your bass itself, you want your volume up. There's things you could do. You could turn your volume up a little bit on your amplifier, and then you could have all control of your volume right here. So, for example, I'm using 2 different pickups, so I'll just use one, but I could go louder or I could go quieter. Having control of our sound is very important. We don't want to have, we don't be so loud that it makes the whole band sound like nothing but bass players. And we usually have an amplifier that can do that kind of thing. So we don't want to be too loud. And also, we have a lot more control over our bass if it's not turned up all the way. That way we could put our fingers on there and have more control of the vibration of the strings. And so you don't want to crank it up too much. Now later we'll talk about putting some serious volume on your bass. But let's talk about a couple other things. Finger exercises. Finger exercises are super important. What we're trying to do is get control of these fingers. Okay. So what we want to do is, I want you to notice these are all bigger down here. They're smaller up here. So when we do a finger exercise, our fingering exercise is easier up here where the frets are not as wide. So here's what I want you to do. Count your frets. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Notice that 3 has a dot on it, and 5 has a dot on it. 6, 7. 7 has a dot. 8, 9 has a dot. 10, 11, 12. All right, 12 has a double dot. Well, I want to scoot back to 9. All right, now how could you find 9 without having to count every single one of these frets? 1, 2, 3, 4. Well, your bass might be a little bit different than mine, like you might have a dot here. I doubt it. I've seen only a few that had a dot right here. Most of our basses and guitars have dots on the 3rd fret, the 5th fret, the 7th fret, 9th fret, and 12th fret. And then again on the 15th, and 17th, and 19th fret. So, but right now, the easiest way to know is that, okay, so 12th fret has the double dot. That makes that easy. We could memorize that real quick. So we're going to go 12, 11, 10, 9. Or we could just think of it this way, the dot before the double dot. Okay. I want you to place your first finger on the 1st fret, on the 1st string on the 9th fret. And I'm going to move this out of the way so you can see this a little bit better. All right, so 1st finger right there. We're going to play that note. That happens to be your E. It's a high E. So we're going to go E, F, F sharp, G. All right, so we're going to put one finger next to all the way up. So we go 9, 10, 11, 12. 9, 10, 11, 12. finger down. Each time I add another finger. Then I'm going to do it on the next string. I think that's far enough for right now. For a beginner, to be able to do these first 3 strings is enough. Now, my right hand, I could use both fingers here, but I'm going to use just my first finger for now. Okay, and notice I'm resting my finger on the second string. I'm going to do the next string and play 9, 10, 11, 12. They're resting on the next string. And then, now there's a couple other things we could do. We could just go 9, 10, 9, 10, and then 10, 11, 10, 11, and 11, 12, 11, 12. 9, 10, 9, 10, 10, 11, 10, 11, 11, 12, 11, 12. Now the whole reason for doing that is to start using all 4 of our fingers. If we're able to use our pinky from the beginning, it's going to be so much easier for us to play the bass. So go up, 9, 10, 11, 12, and then 12, 11, 10, 9. And master it on the first string before you go to the next string. You could start moving it down and go to 7, 8, 9, 10, 10, 9, 8, 7. The frets are just a tiny bit bigger there, and then for the 5th fret. And then move down to the 3rd fret. So the whole purpose of all that is just to get our fingers to start moving independently. So if you have questions, send me an email, tfaber@musiclearningband.com, and we'll talk to you guys soon. Thanks.